and more and more things over this last week are coming out with regards to Jimmy Savile. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I've just been writing an article about it for the last 2 days, going out over the weekend, and I've headed it Jimmy Savile, Doorman to the Cesspit. You could say doorway to the cesspit as well, for reasons I'll explain. I was first told that Jimmy Savile was a paedophile in about 1997-98 by a number of people, but including the people who had serious connections into the royal family. Not that they were members of the royal family, but they were very close to people that were on the inside. And they told me about the Satanism that went on in the royal family, the pedophilia, and all that stuff. And then out of nowhere, they brought up Jimmy Savile. And of course, I'm into a conversation about, the royal family, how they treated Diana, pedophilia and all this stuff. And suddenly Jimmy Savile comes out of nowhere, this aging disc jockey. And I obviously asked the question, where does he fit in? And they told me about it. Not just his pedophilia, but his necrophilia. He has a thing about having sex with dead people. And it was pointed out quite rightly to me, why do you think he volunteered to be a porter and a volunteer in hospitals, particularly the one in Leeds? Because it gave him access to mortuaries and dead people, basically. And if you look at some of the real most extreme, I mean, in and of itself it's extreme, but most extreme of pedophilia, one of the things that they desire that gives them the biggest high is sex with disabled people, either physically disabled or mentally disabled. And again, because of his charity work, he was able to have access to people like that, to children like that. Also, what is happening, Lou, in the media at the moment is that and I can understand it in the initial stages, as long as it doesn't stay there. It's focusing on him as a paedophile and his own paedophile activities and one or two other, showbiz people around him. But the biggest story, the biggest picture story, is that he was a procurer of children, and he procured them for the royal family. He procured them for people like Ted Heath, who is exposed as a Satanist, paedophile, and mass child killer, serial child killer, in a book called The Biggest Secret. It came out in 1998. He was alive then for years afterwards, and he was therefore untouchable. If you look at some of the quotes that he gave at various times, he said he was untouchable. And he gave an interview for Esquire magazine in which he said, the thing about me is I get things done and I work deep cover. I've known the royal family for a million years. He was talking about his connections to the royal family and how he was a regular visitor to Buckingham Palace, Kensington Palace, where Diana lived after the marriage to Charles broke up, Highgrove, the country estate of Prince Charles. And he also said, significantly, that the man who introduced him to the royal family initially in the 1960s was Lord Mountbatten. And anyone who's done research into high-level paedophilia, Lord Mountbatten's name will come up. Of course, he was the mentor and Mr. Uncle, big uncle to Prince Charles. And these names are not a surprise to me, because these names came up in the conversations I had with these insiders quite a long time ago now. And because he was procuring for children, this is why he was untouchable. People say, well, why didn't people know about this? Why didn't the BBC uncover it? Why did all these, inquiries, police inquiries, just stop and go nowhere? Because the way these rings work is that they put their people in all the key areas of society, the institutions of law enforcement, of judiciary, of media, of politics. Of course, royalties are much based on it. And therefore, they watch each other's backs. And when you're procuring children for the rich and famous and the powerful and all the rest of it, then your back is their back. Because if you go under and it comes out, they go under and it comes out. And one or two things happens to these procurers of children. Either they keep quiet and are safe, like Savile, hence he got to the age of 84, or you're considered dangerous and not safe, in which case you're no longer with us. And Savile understood the game, and he played the game to his own benefit. And another question, maybe someone can answer it. Maybe there's a plausible answer. But I look at his Rolls Royce that went for about 160 grand. I look at his other cars, Bentleys and stuff. I look at, apparently, according to the media anyway, he has at least 8 homes. I look at the millions of pounds in cash on top of all that, in bank accounts that was in his will. And I look at a guy who, yes, would have earned quite well in the 60s and 70s as the disc jockey and Jim Will Fix It and personal appearances and advertising. But then I look at a guy of 84 who's done none of that for decades and has no real obvious means of living that lifestyle, but still does. And, you know, all I can say is procuring children for rich and famous pedophiles is a very lucrative business.